information piece on that, so I'll let him talk this, talk a little bit about a recommendation.
The gentleman here, Mr. Boyer.
Good evening, Brian Boyer from Boyer Engineering.
Okay.
I was gonna turn my mic on. So essentially what they're asking for is typically when a subdivision plan is approved, the applicant will give the engineer an analysis of the improvements to be done on the site, and they will post security and a financial security agreement with the township to ensure that those improvements are done. And that's all done at the same time and prior to the plans being recorded. And the reasons that's done is to ensure that the township is secure, that if somebody would develop those lots in the future, that the improvements will be completed for both those property owners and the public, as shown in the plans. What they're asking for a waiver from is from posting that security this time and waiting until building permits are being issued. So that would allow them to record the plan without having that financial security in place, but tying it to a building permit. I can tell you the recommendation from the consultant is that we not do it, but obviously we can hear from Mr. Boyer to see what he has to say.
Yes, what we have is the Doris Vorndrand Trust. She's in her 90s, and her children we're subdividing the property. We're just gonna do it into 2 basic lots. But your process forced them to go to the full development of each lot and show how everything would be laid out, rather than leaving it to the next person that they would sell it to. So the intent now would be to sell the lots, and then the individuals who would purchase the lots would then post the escrows. We still have an NPDS permit, so there's still other things with storm drainage and all the stormwater BMPs and things would have to be put in and still approved by the Montgomery Conservation District after the construction is completed. So there are checks and balances here to make sure that the work gets done properly and gets completed. And we're not looking at any public improvements. The only thing, it's basically sewer lines for the individual lots. They have their own on-lot wells, and then there's an existing driveway they're using that's permitted with PennDOT now, and that only has some minor upgrades it needs for a parking space so that somebody can pass each other right near Mulgrews Mill Road.
Okay, commissioners, any questions or comments before we discuss this?
Question, Robert, before we discuss that.
Okay.
If they posted a security and they sold the lot, does the security get refunded at that point?
No. So an agreement will be done at the same time, so they would have to take care of doing those cost allocations on the settlement sheet, so, but the money would stay with the township. Or financial security, whatever type of security they would.
And I think it's kind of a rhetorical question. It is refunded once all the improvements are done and to satisfaction of LTL or whatever. And normally we keep these deposits?
Yes.
Others, so can we get a recommendation from the solicitor and township manager?
Yeah, we recommend that you stick with the normal process of requiring the posting of it prior to the recording of the plans, really just so we're safe and it's not missed.
Yeah, and that's how it's typically done, that's how it's been done in the past. I don't know that the township has ever waived that requirement, even for a minor subdivision. So it's typically what's done. And, I mean, you certainly have the pleasure to do what you want, but you'd also be setting a precedent if you did.
Most municipalities I deal with don't require an escrow in a situation like this at all. You're requiring one, which is a little more than most. And then we're just asking for a little leniency to try to help the property owners out so they don't have to put it out of pocket until they sell the lots. That's the issue.
So that said, we'll take it from a standpoint of, does anybody want to make the motion to waive this item? If no motion is made and we don't go to the vote, it will just not be waived. Does anybody want to make that motion?
To not say that again.
Does anybody want to make the motion to waive this requirement? If no one does make that motion, then it'll be just denied. We won't.
I'm gonna ask a question here because, I would like more information on this. I'd like us to table this.
questions there?
That's actually fine.
I just need more information on it.
Mhm.
You know, I hear this, I hear that, I don't hear really any, other explanation. Now, and especially what you just said, other townships do this. I still thought that they were, the people, there were two
Two
children?
lots, two lots.
Children who were building on the lots, is that?
That was
That
the
was the
original
original
intent,
intent.
but
was
that
the
has
original
changed.
intent and it's
Yeah.
changed, okay. So, I'm just gonna say, can we table it? I'm just not really sure.
And no action would table it, and
Right.
he could talk to the engineer and hopefully, convince them, come up with cost estimates or something, he could continue to pursue it, to try and change them.
What do you wanna do?
I second what Kathy said.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll stay as tabled.
So will this be on the agenda for February 2nd? If you have the meeting?
Yes, we need direction
Alright.
on what further
Yeah.
information you guys want to be able to make that decision. So send us.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm not
So
sure
we-
we'll have that meeting, it'll probably be the next meeting.
Okay, old business, moving on to the Pine Tree Road Stormwater Project, B.
So this is, for the Pine Ford Road Stormwater Project, this is application number 2 from Slough in the amount of $48,796.51. It's been reviewed and approved by the engineer, so I'm asking for your approval.
Need a motion?
I'll make the motion to pay out $48,796.51.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second, any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Old business C, this is the actual,
So there were some change
Change
orders
orders, yeah.
required to this project, in the field, and those change orders were, reviewed and approved by Chad, so there's 3 change orders. One had to do with having to remove additional trees, another one had to do with timing and material for a water line conflict, and the third one was additional length of the guide rail and treatment. So the total change order, was $6,860.14, and we're asking for your approval of those change orders, which, Chad had reviewed and recommended approval. That would bring the total revised project cost to $282,808.22, which is still less than we originally anticipated the project would cost before we did any cost estimates or put it out for bid.
need a motion on change order?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Here in a second, more discussion?
And this was, approved by Chad, you said?
Yes,
That's already done.
yeah, it's already done.
Yeah, I know.
Others? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Old business D, this is the zoning ordinance, Eric's been working on it for a while, and to save costs, he combined several different items, so. This is a motion to advertise, just so no one gets confused, it's to advertise. Eric?
So what we have here is there's 4 zoning ordinance amendments that we've merged into one ordinance, so that we can streamline the process and the cost to the township. So, sections 1 through 3 of the proposed ordinance is really cleanup items. These are items identified by the township and its consultants. So we clean up various things missing or inconsistent in the ordinance. Sections 4 through 11 are amendments to the Route 100 overlay district for the development that's half in West Pottsgrove and half, probably less than half, in Upper Pottsgrove. So those amendments were requested by the developer so that they can have a consistent development on both sides of the township line. And they did a presentation here prior to us writing that ordinance, or those ordinance amendments. Sections 12 through 13 are for the Master Ventures townhome development. In that one, we are squaring off both for the existing townhomes and the proposed development, so that there aren't non-conforming lots existing, and that the proposed townhomes can go in where the applicant showed us they were proposing them. And then section 14 is the amendment requested by Mr. Dickinson, and what he has is a bunch of lots in the same area of the township that are zoned differently, used the same but zoned differently. So what it led to is a lot of non-conforming or uses and developments there. So that is to bring all his properties under one zoning district, so the use is consistent throughout them. So as the chairman stated, is that this is not for approving the ordinance, it's just moving it to the next step. What we did last fall is, after those three applicants came here and requested those changes, we drafted the ordinance, we shared it with you, we then voted to move it off to, for the county's review. We have to send it off to the county for 45 days, we've now received their review. They've recommended approval of the ordinance. I think they also recommended a change to your map, which really isn't part of the plan. They didn't think the Route 100 commercial overlay was shown correctly, and this is gonna lead to some changes to the map anyway, so we can just make sure at the same time those things are cleaned up. But that's really what need to be added to the ordinance. Other than that, they did recommend approval of the ordinance. So your next step is to schedule a hearing to take public comment. That would then allow me to advertise this for 2 consecutive weeks, have the hearing in February or March, whenever you tell us you wanted to have it. Take public comment, and then after that public comment, a couple things could happen. We could either change the ordinance, which means we'd have to restart everything, send it back off to the county. We could deny it, in which case it would just end, or we could approve it, in which case these amendments would become part of your ordinance. But none of that action can happen until after we have the public hearing. So what we're asking for is allow us to move it off to the next step, which is scheduling the public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of that. So we can have that in February if you would want to.
Hearing that, I'll need a motion to advertise.
I will make that motion to advertise.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Hearing a second, more discussion?
Just a question, are the properties also notified?
Yes, so all the properties that are listed on, so all the parcel numbers, they will receive notice. Adjacent I don't believe we have to send it to adjacent property owners, so just the affected property owners will receive the notice. And there's probably 2 different lists, yeah. Another list on the page before that.
And some of these properties are not owned by,
Correct,
okay.
yes. Well, and some of them are the existing town, I don't know the name of it, I apologize.
Yeah.
Town
Cottington
community.
View.
Some of them are zoned R2 when they should be zoned R3, so we were correcting that at the same time, so you don't have the non-conforming issues with them.
Okay,
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
I know when we discussed this, that this could impact somebody's property by changing their zoning, especially if they wanna do any work.
Right.
All right, I just wanna make sure.
I think this will help them, because it allows for townhomes, so the ordinance is there, or for the R3, I believe it is, are zoned to allow the setbacks for townhomes, on R2 they not.
Good.
I also have a question.
Sure.
On page 4, 350-29, municipal use and public service corporations. What does that mean? I'm reading it as a municipal use shall be permitted in any zoning district, and land may be used and occupied for the uses contained in the definition of multiple use and/or the following uses. And then we go through, 4 things, and then including the right to build any accessory buildings and structures necessary. Explain.
So right now, you don't have municipal use defined at all. So unless it's an office zoning district or something like that, you really can't have the township building. Meaning this building right now may not be permitted where it is. The police department where it's located may be a non-conforming at where it's located right now. So what we did is define the use and then allow it, like every zoning ordinance out there allows it anywhere. You
Even
control
on
So
yourself.
you're talking open space,
Talking anywhere in the township, so not just.
so you're talking open space,
No,
okay,
I'm talking anywhere. If you wanna include any word to include open space, yes, it would include open space.
very good lawyer answer, thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries, we'll advertise that.
Just so everyone knows, there's gonna be a hearing for the public.
Next item up is the Chester Valley Engineer. This is Al Greco's firm. He's been working with Open Space for quite a while, Open Space Committee for quite a while. We asked him to put some items together and see if Michelle could use him in supporting our property that the township owns, or whatever she thinks is appropriate, in our look at different engineers that are across the area. So he drew this up for us. Michelle, any comments on?
No, that pretty much explained itself.
Need a motion to accept the Chester Valley Engineers, letter.
I make that motion.
Need a motion, is there a second?
Second that.
Hearing a second, more discussion?
Yeah, I'm not sure, are we replacing LTL? Is this
No.
going for replacement of
No.
LTL? Okay.
Absolutely.
Why were Dave and I not consulted about this? Had no idea.
Get it in your packet,
Yeah, got it Friday
just like
night.
everybody else does.
Trace. Don, were you consulted?
I knew that, I suggested to bring him on as a alternate engineer. He's done an excellent job.
Right.
And he's the engineer that you recommended initially.
Oh, I know that, I know
And-
that.
And he's done
And why,
excellent
Hank, were
work.
you
I
consulted
was
about
aware
it?
of it,
Pardon?
I was aware of it, yes.
You were aware of it. So I asked again, why were we not consulted?
You got it, the letter in your packet, Kevin.
There's my question.
Do you have-
There's the
you have
answer to my
issues with
question.
them?
No, yeah, I do.
What's
That you,
Chester
it's the
Valley?
phone call consensus.
On the table right now, we have a Chester Valley, we had a actual motion, a second.
I wasn't finished.
Complete your sentence.
Were there other companies interviewed or contacted about doing additional services?
No, we were going through the process of seeing which ones that are appropriate or not, and giving Michelle the opportunity to take a look at them.
But we're approving the professional service agreement tonight.
Yes, for CVE, correct.
For 2024. And if the commissioners recall, we have used Al for different open space projects and different issues in the past that the whole board is aware of and has approved to use him. So this is just kind of ratifying it, I guess, that we're using him on, like, road projects if we need to.
I have questions that I would like answered by Mr. Greiga, if you can pass that back. Before, and it's specifically because Dave and I used Mr. Greiga for the initial site study, which is now considered confidential.
Still, we have a motion on the floor, we had a second. I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
Motion carries. New business. A,